the worrying aspect of yesterday was the left wing back position. Zach Bradshaw was having huge issues against Josh Neufville during the first half. We were sort of shaking our head. I don't like to single out individual players too much of the time because it's a team game, and obviously, you want to get behind the players, but he was getting skinned. I mean, Wimbledon could have scored in the first minute or so where McGee pulls off a cracking save, and that came from the right-hand side. But every time Neufville got on the ball, he was looking to play a 1-2, and he was doing Bradshaw every which way but loose. Johnny Jackson said after yesterday's game in the interview that they were trying to get them on the ball as much as they identified Tranmere's weak area there with sort of Turnbull as the left-sided centre-half, but it was Bradshaw who just, as I say, he got absolutely skinned for that goal. And it was coming, and you do question whether a change might have been made at half-time because it was patently obvious that was our weak link in the team. The rest of the team were doing really well. Norman was operating well as the right wing-back. Saidu Khan came in. I thought he had a much better engine than Finlay, much more mobility, looked good. I thought we were compact. I thought we were really nullifying them and frustrating them. And I just thought after half time, if we were able to continue to do that really and frustrate them, there was a chance for us to get something out of the game. But yeah, there was just such an issue. And, I don't want to say single players out, but it's not the first time that I thought he's been culpable or, it was just so easy. And that guy isn't somebody who scores a lot of goals for Wimbledon. I think he's only scored 3 this season, but he looked like Robbie Apter did for us last season.
I noticed that Barrow changed their manager yesterday. Stephen Clements got the bullet. Tranmere drew with them 1-1 over the Christmas period. People might remember. Well, they're on an absolutely horrific run of form, and they lost 2-0 themselves at Swindon on Saturday. So that means they have now gone, well, as I say, 5 games without a win in the league, but it's also only 1 win, I think, in about 14 or 15 for them. It's been pretty desperate stuff, and they've dropped to 17th in the table, having had actually a reasonably good start to the season. So if you look at the teams around Tranmere in the table, obviously Swindon have made a managerial change this year. Carlisle have made a managerial change this year. Barrow have made one. Gillingham have made one. Harrogate, granted, haven't, with Simon Weaver, and Derek Adams remains at the helm. At Morecambe, having taken up that position in the off-season. But a lot of teams around where Tranmere are moving to make a managerial change. Tranmere are yet to do so. What is your take, before we wrap things up, Matt, on whether a change is needed?
Yeah, change would be needed in normal circumstances, but the person that makes the decision to change the manager is acting, is basically retaining the manager, but based on the possibility of taking over, also mixed with the prospect that even if you've got to have, there used to be a time where everybody would be like, a quick managerial appointment where a replacement came in straight away would almost be like, oh, what a shocker, they must have been talking to them behind the manager's back and that. But actually, there's a lot to be said for finding a ready-made replacement or testing the waters to see. But I don't see Adkins. Adkins is quite defiant in terms of he won't step down from his position. And if there was a time to have got rid of Palios this season, I think the time's passed now because,
Adkins, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, there have been multiple situations. Sorry, where Adkins probably, with another club, they would have gone, yeah, enough's enough, really. But I don't think a change will be made. But I think a change would be obviously massively beneficial. But I think a manager of a certain caliber that we would want to replace Adkins wouldn't necessarily want to come in with this group of players. Having given, Mike Williamson came in at Carlisle, but he's been given assurances of money to spend, and obviously he's been able to spend money, and that's what managers want. They don't want to come in and basically take over a potentially sinking ship anyway. So yeah, I understand why the manager hasn't left. I think it would be beneficial if we did have a different manager at this point in time, but the circumstances dictate that we probably won't.
Yeah, that does seem to be the way. But 4 wins in 21 matches now in the league since that burst at the start of the campaign. 12 defeats during that period. I remember Les Parry got sacked after I think it was 1 win in 21, which obviously, in terms of victories, is significantly fewer than what Tranmere have picked up. But at least at that point, they were in. If there's any kind of solace, they're in League One, and you weren't dropping out of the Football League if you got relegated, and they ultimately didn't because Ronnie came in and motivated them to stay up. But the fear is right now that if they go again, they ain't going down to a League Two, they're going down to the National League, and then it becomes hugely, hugely problematic.
Yeah, it would do, wouldn't it? It's not, the squad would need complete rebuild, and some of the half decent players would potentially move on at that point. Not that we have many anyway. You can't imagine Luke McGee potentially playing non-league football, really, given the stature of his performances. And he's been the massive positive for Tranmere. He's been one of our best, arguably our best signing that we've made, really, in the last 2 or 3 years. Whenever McGee came in, obviously he's just been, he's just been ultra consistent, really. And but yeah, it would just need a complete rebuild from the ground up, the team, the squad. So yeah, it's all very well being in League Two and being able to sort of work on ways to bringing in a new manager, potentially new owners, and starting to build up in that division. But yeah, and the gates, and the gates obviously would be lower, and the number of away fans at games, financially it would be a real kick in the teeth.